been told by someone in the church that the reason why you haven't been healed and the reason why your hurt is still in your life is because your faith is not adequate. Or you have a sin that you have kept covered. And it has absolutely destroyed and killed them. And I know these people to be some of the godliest people I know. I have a hard time with that one, and the reason why is this. A theme I see in the Bible is God taking people and doing far greater things than you or I will ever do with them for the kingdom, and yet the entire time they had incredible hurt in their life. They had incredible pain, they had incredible grief, and God walked with them through that and accomplished incredible things. And every one of them would say, it was worth it. David said in Psalms 55, 16 and 18, he said, "But I call to God, and the Lord saves me. Evening, morning, and noon I cry out in distress, and He hears my voice." David's praying with a persevering mindset right there. Evening, morning, and noon I cry out. That's a persevering mindset. Evening, morning, and noon. Now, I wish you could wave a magic wand over hurt and it'd disappear. I wish you could say a simple magic prayer and it'd all go away. But as long as you and I live in a world where there is an enemy that is jealous of our favor with God, even to the point of death, and will do whatever it takes to seek ruin in our life, even if that means drawing up our past, you and I are going to experience healing for hurt be a process, sometimes a lifetime. Because there is an enemy that doesn't want you to know who God wants you to be. He doesn't want you to know it. And so most of us have probably experienced what it feels like to have our past held against us, used as leverage. I know for my own life, I think of Hannah every single day. And it's hard every single day. I know I was 4 years old. And I know I didn't comprehend what was happening, what I was saying, what was taking place. But it's still hard for me every single day. It's hard for my family every single day. Now that I have a daughter who is the same age as Hannah was when this happened, I'm experiencing a whole new bunch of emotions because I'm seeing Hannah in my daughter. And I'm seeing the honesty and the sincerity that a little girl has. And so that's hard. It's hard every time I see a ditch. It's hard every time I see an ambulance because I remember what happened. And what I find myself doing is every single day taking that hurt before God and going, God, can you use this for something greater than? Because I can't do it on my own. 1 John 4:4 says, "You dear children are from God and have overcome them, because the one who is in you is greater than the one who is in the world." I have a past. And I also have a future. And so do you and I, because of Christ. And it appears to me that God does His best work over the course of decades and generations, not instantaneously. God does His best work when it involves lots of people, an entire family. And He drives this point home in Genesis, and He says, I'm the God of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. He drives this home. And there's an issue here, too, that I want to talk about. If you don't deal with it, your kids will have to deal with it. And the Bible is really clear that there are blessings that are passed from generation to generation, and there are curses. And so for my kids' sake and my family's sake, I want to deal with it. I want to deal with it. I love how David concluded this psalm, verse 22. He said, "Cast your care on the Lord, and He will sustain you. He will never let the righteous be shaken." He'll sustain you. Hurt is a guaranteed part of life, and God has absolutely promised to sustain you. Second habit that a person who has found God to be greater than is this. There's a need to gradually and continually disinfect the wound. Any of you guys ever had a septic tank growing up? Maybe you have one now. Septic tanks are great. You can be in the back of your beautiful yard, vines, just lush and beautiful. And you can be lying on your beautiful lawn, just kicking back, enjoying everything, absolutely clueless to the fact that a couple feet beneath you is a big tank of the nastiest stuff you will ever come across in your life. Why is that? And how come you enjoy the grass that you're laying on so much? Why do you think it's so green? But if you've had a septic tank for long enough, you know that septic tanks build up. And so periodically you got to have the roto-rooter guy come, you got to have the honey wagon come and clean that sucker out. Now you guys know that they call the honey wagon the pump truck that comes to your house, huh? And that guy, you know what? I'm never complaining about my job ever again. That guy, he's a real American hero, okay? Anyways. That guy whips up, he pulls up, he jumps out of his truck, and he grabs a honey dipper hose, and he goes right over like nothing, pulls the cover, and goes right to work like it's just something he does every day. And you and I, every time, watch and go, I'm going to give that guy a tip. Because I know what I flushed down the toilet. So, anyways, if we do not periodically clean out the septic tank, we know that they will build up and our toxic waste will accumulate, and if we don't deal with it, it will blow. Here's a bummer part of that. When it does blow, and I'm talking about the stuff that's in us, it doesn't just affect us, it affects the people around us. It affects the people we love, it affects the people who aren't even involved, because we didn't want to deal with it. One of the most destructive things that took place in my life when Hannah's accident happened, when she drowned, was I swore I would never tell anyone the rest of my life. This is something I will take to the grave. And except for the grace of God working in my life, I came to a place where I finally felt free enough to share that. And yet I began a lifetime habit right then of hiding things in my life. Didn't matter what it was. I began a habit of hiding stuff. And it wreaked havoc on my own life. Families hurt together. If there's one person in the family that hurts, the whole family hurts. You can watch it when a mom or dad isn't doing good. You can see what happens to the kids. Or when one of the kids is hurting. Or even when someone who's outside the immediate family is hurting. The whole family hurts. They hurt together. It affects the whole family. A side note here, because David talked about this. He talked about it in verses 12 through 14. The church is a family. And we hurt together too. And when things aren't right, we hurt together. And when things are good, we rejoice together. The church is a family. Here's something a family does. A family sticks together because we're a family. Psalms 55:19, David says something that boggles my mind. He says, God who is enthroned forever will hear them and afflict them, men who never change their ways and have no fear of God. Now here's why that proclamation is so weird. That is not the typical response to someone who hurts you. Here, let me explain. Here's what David said. He said, God can handle my betrayer. And so God, I surrender them to you. That's huge. Let me give you a couple things that this means, dealing with this stuff in us. It means releasing those who hurt us to God instead of judging them ourselves. If you have ever been hurt, I think it's fitting to remind you that God is a God of justice, and He can deal with those who hurt you far better than you can. The Bible instructs us not to judge others, not because they won't be judged, but because God, the righteous judge, will judge them, and He can do a much better job than you or I can. My sister, through our entire life, has never once given me a look of disapproval. She's never once turned her eyes or given me that look like she just doesn't love me or she resents me for what I said. She's never done that. And I can't tell you how thankful I am, because I honestly don't know if I could have made it